how do you increase female sex drive? Men under stress, it's fight, flee, and fornicate. That's men under stress. Women under stress, back away, leave me alone, let me compartmentalize. I'm trying to just get through the day.
Let's face it, like if we want to feel sexy, we want to feel good. If we have stress, that stress is adding inflammation, which then is adding excess weight and fatigue and just bloat.
Foods that bloat sink the boat. And it happens like twice a month.
Our bodies are smart.
That is when you're ovulating. That is the time that you probably want to wear 6 layers of clothes and have on a massive ironclad bulletproof chastity belt and stay away from your husband if you're trying not to conceive, because that time when you're seeing him most attractive, when it's just out of the blue, is a good chance it's a time that you are actually ovulating. Everybody, welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Skip Wyss, and I have my amazing co-host with me, Dr. Julie Wyss today. How are you?
I'm great.
You are looking fantastic. You are completely blacked out from head to toe today.
Sorry.
I like it.
I think you started with the pants and then
went from there.
Yeah. And why did you do pop of color? I just wasn't feeling it.
I think you look great. Well, let's let the wall do the pop of color because I'm pretty dark too today. Guess what we're talking about today, Dr. Julie?
Well, we just talked about men last week.
Well, we always talk about men. Yeah, let's talk about some women. Let's talk about women's libido, women's sex drive. I think this is something that, actually, I know this is a topic that's on a lot of married men's minds. It's on a lot of women's men's mind. It's on a lot of women's minds as well, especially when their drive isn't there. Especially when they see it in their partner or they see that there is a gap in physical touch in their relationship. And so I went in and I started to look at the questions we get here at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers. And I don't find it alarming at all. I just find it as a trend. And that trend is definitely as women get up in age, further along in their gestational years, their sex drive seems to go down. But a lot of people think it's because of age, and I couldn't disagree with that more.
Yeah, I don't think it's definitely age. I don't think it's age related because like we talk about like what we typically see, and then there's always those outliers, right?
There is the outliers.
Completely like
the outliers. Those camps are just funny.
Yeah, those are I enjoy those. But I don't think that it's age related. I'm sure you're probably gonna touch on each of these.
Yeah.
But I would have to agree with you on that.
It's 100% not age related at all. Yes, there's going to be a change in hormones as you get older. There's going to be a natural progression of changes in progesterone, in estrogen, and in testosterone. And in fact, in women, testosterone increases as they get older. In men, testosterone decreases slightly as they get older, but it shouldn't fall off the face of the earth. But I believe that the number one searched and complained things in women is, how do you increase female sex drive? Whether you're married or you're single, how do women increase their sex drive? And that's a hard question to answer, but I will tell you that it comes back to management of stress. We've talked about this a lot in the last month on sleep, on stress management, on anything with women to decrease stress. I think that is the number one thing. And go ahead.
Well, if we talk about it, I mean, right, there's sex hormones. And if we talk about hormones in general, it doesn't matter whichever one that you want to trigger. Anytime that there's stress, it does a negative cascade within our bodies.
Right.
And ultimately that affects all of the hormones. The sex hormones, I think, are usually the biggest one that I think gets hit first, but it doesn't raise red flags for people, because I think if you're married, one spouse can be kind of maybe more unhappy about it, but it's not like one of those big detrimental things I think, for some of the partners.
It can be over
Versus
time.
over time. I'm saying like
Hmm.
in the forefront, versus if all of a sudden somebody develops other diseases or disorders, things that, right, there's a magic potion or a medication for.
Hmm.
And I don't think people usually think sex drive first, but I think that is usually an indicator that that happens first, and then everything else is a cascade after.
Yeah, and I want to be real clear right now. Dr. Julie and I don't claim to be sexual health experts. We're not giving you medical advice or anything like that. We are not medical physicians, but we do know a lot about hormones. We
We
do
see
know
it
more
all
about
the
the body. We
time.
deal with women nonstop, and we see this all the time. And it comes back to stress, and decreasing stress in women is one of the top priorities that I have. And we look at it from a chiropractic perspective of how we can de-stress the nervous system, therefore allowing the body to better adapt to stress, both internal and external. But one of the keys is that emotional relationship stress that can be very, very hard on women. And it comes down to being a mom. It comes down to trying to manage everything in the household. When it's kids, it's schedules, it's husbands, it's trying to get everything done like most men, like
All the
most women
demands.
do. All the demands. You become a massive taxi driver, you're an Uber, and you're trying to keep your entire household together, and your stress level starts going through the roof. And that is usually when we see a massive decrease in sex drive. And the thing is it gets correlated to having children. They say as you have babies, your sex drive's going to decrease. Well, the reason why is because your stress increased.
And again, I don't I chuckle a little bit because I look at the population of what's in our clinic, and that's not true for all of the large families that we
No,
see. And I
it's
say
not.
large, right? So clearly there is a delineating factor based upon how these individuals handle stress
Hmm.
or have community or other people helping with all of the duties and tasks.
Exactly. So starting to understand stress management, I think a lot of it, I know a lot of it comes back to the sleep and mom's ability to get sleep, recover. Because if we look at sleep and the recovery phase, which you all should be jumping into our sleep challenge here coming up. And if you're not in this month's, get into next month's, just get on the wait list, click the link below and just jump in with us, because everything we're finding that we know correlates back to sleep and the body's ability to recover. And when a mom's not getting good sleep, when she's not getting that good deep phase 3 sleep where her body can actually recover, her body just lives in stress. And then as chronic stress builds up, it decreases women's sex drive because it increases cortisol. We've talked about this before, but it bears a necessity for repeating. As that hormone neurotransmitter increases due to stress, it decreases everything else because now you're in survival. This is the funny thing, is that when we look at men and women under stress, men under stress, it's fight, flee, and fornicate. That's men under stress. Women under stress, back away, leave me alone, let me compartmentalize. I'm trying to just get through the day. Where men deal with stress much different. Relief of stress for a man is more of a physical activity. For women, it's more of a decompression activity.
Isolation.
Isolation. So in your mind, Dr. Julie, what are some really good, healthy ways for women to, quote unquote, healthy isolate? What do you think?
To help with de-stressing.
Yes.
So I think realizing at the end of the day, did you make it through the day? If you didn't do the dishes, did you die? If the
Mm-hmm.
laundry didn't
You are
get
right,
done, did you
right.
die? And I think just really starting to put things back into perspective of, right, as we age, we don't know how many days that we have. And so I think starting to focus more of living in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and giving yourself grace to realize that it doesn't have to all be done and it's okay to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are saying, well, what can I help you with? Instead of you saying, no, I'm good,
Right.
actually like say, yes, I could use some help. And I think we talk about this a lot, but it bears repeating that when people see like outwardly that maybe there's a struggle and somebody's offering that help, please just take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of really just stepping into the community
Mm-hmm.
and being okay, because like nobody's perfect. I am far from perfect. You're
Mm-hmm.
far from perfect. But I think as women, as moms, like we feel like we have this status quo to live up to,
Yes.
and you're just hurting yourself. Yeah, if we can all just realize that we can get through the day. If we have kids, are they fed? Are they clothed? Maybe bathed, maybe clothed. But again, as long as I, right, as long as they're enjoying life,
Right.
that's all that there needs to be.
Well, I know that decreasing stress for a woman is much different than a man. I think that women do get frustrated with their partners when their partners don't communicate. But men are not designed to communicate in times of stress. We're designed and communicates to defend, fight, or flee. Women, you are designed to communicate. So use that muscle that when you're stressed, you need to talk. You need to communicate. You need to tell your spouse when things aren't going correctly or where areas are that you need help in, because at the end of the day, your spouse is going to want to help you and decrease that stress on you. Like, it's inherent there, but you're designed to communicate.
Well, let me right there of don't wait until you get into that stress state, because
Exactly.
that's when things are going to blow up. So
Mm-hmm.
have an action plan in place of, okay, these are the expectations. And all of a sudden, if you come home and you see this, you know, literally things have hit the fan. That if some of these things are discussed beforehand, it's going to allow that spouse, that partner, to be able to step in and engage just by maybe looking at your face. And
Yeah.
sometimes that conversation in that moment, because you're just
Give that.
upset because they're not doing something that you expected them to do.
Well, is it a watch or a warning? Like, it's a big deal here. Like, understanding where you're at in your relationship and your stress. Can you give your husbands more of a watch? Like, hey, storm conditions are right for a tornado to come. Or is it a tornado warning where there's one on the ground? I'm
It's
ready to tear
touchdown.
this place apart. I don't like the way I feel. And now we've erupted. And it comes down to communication. So here's the deal. I love this analogy. Dr. Sean Dill talks about this with his wife, Lacey Book, is communication. If I've got a bottle of water and I'm drinking out of it and it's hot outside and you want a drink, but you don't ask me for a drink of my water, how the hell am I supposed to know? Because
it's hot out.
Right. Well, it's hot out, and I'm a gentleman. I will offer, and you will probably say no because you don't like my germs, but I offered. But most people, unless you communicate and say, hey, could I have a drink of your water? They may say no, which they're rightful to do. Or they're going to say, yes, please have a drink. I know now that you're thirsty. Let me go try to find you a resource, water. But if you don't communicate that to the person, you're doing yourself a disservice and them a disservice. You need to communicate it. The answer you get back might not be the one you like. Like, if I come to you and I say, babe, we need to have more physical contact. We need more sex or intercourse or whatever you want to call it. If you come back to me and say, I don't think we do, then we have to sit down and figure out, okay, what's going on here? Where are our needs being met, not met? Same deal. Communication. Communication is key.
And I think it's that unwritten that they can't, guys, they can't read your mind. And if you're sitting there like,
are you talking like women can't read men's minds or men can't read women's minds? Because
well,
it's a very difficult situation.
Both ways. But if we go back to the water, right? And if you're thinking, well, man, it's hot, and look at him, he's just drinking that water over there.
Mm-hmm.
You start this anger starts to boil,
resentment starts to
and
build up.
It fills up in your tummy, and then every time he takes a drink, like you get madder and madder. And all it took was for you to say, like, hey, can I get a water or can I get a drink?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that happens so often, sometimes with the littlest thing. And maybe in your head, you thought that you said something, or they're supposed to be able to just read your face or your body language for them to know. And if that word would just come out or something, it could change the whole trajectory of that day, of a marriage, of what the future is.
Warning to men out there, you may not like what they have to say. And that's okay, because if you think back on it, your mom kind of just told you whatever you wanted and made you feel good. Your spouse ain't gonna do that for you. She's not your mom, okay? And that's an important thing to understand. But also knowing that the communication back and forth and laying things out on the table just makes for a better, healthier environment. And then understanding when you come home, figure out a way to de-stress your wife. So you go back to dating your spouse. We had that about 10 podcasts ago. That episode's fantastic on how to date your spouse, the 5 love languages, and understanding where you play into that, and then trying to do that. Because if your wife feels loved or your spouse feels loved, that always increases to better intercourse in the bedroom and physical relationships. Now, the next question that we get is, can pregnancy, an increased sex drive, be a sign of pregnancy? I'm interested to hear your take on this because I might be different.
I try to I don't want to just think about my situation, but for some, absolutely. But then others, I think it just is kind of what is going on? Things just feel completely off. You can't put your finger on it, and you're like,
no, you can't.
Something happened.
Yeah, I have a different take on this. I believe that it's actually opposite. A sign of ovulation and fertility that you're ready to conceive always increases sex drive.
Correct.
That's something that I think gets misread from a female side until it's actually brought up, that if you see this spike in fertility or that you want to have sex with your partner,
because you're ovulating.
Exactly. But for a lot of the times, a lot of women don't know that. And I'm not saying that so it could be a sign of alarm. Oh my gosh, my fertility's up. I'm feeling like I want to be with my partner more. Is this because I'm pregnant? No, it's because you possibly could get pregnant. To me, it's a flag.
Well, but I mean, if you think about it, right, if we have to listen to our bodies of, okay, if we want, because there's this little window, I understand
there is a window.
For some couples,
it's 2 days.
It just happens, it just seems like you can wash your clothes together and you'll end up pregnant.
It happens all the time.
But it is literally sometimes a half a day to a 2-day window of when, you're fertile. But that's also, right, if we talk about how we're made, we're made to procreate. We're made to replicate. So again, if we tune out everything else in the world, we don't listen to those things, our bodies need to respond a certain way for the program to work.
And I go back to some of our moms that'll come in and they're like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay. I had sex with my husband twice this month. Twice. I'm like, okay.
In the 2-day window.
In the 2-day window. Probably the time. And she's like, yeah. I was like, probably the time that you were most attracted to him. And she's like, yeah, I'm usually not that attracted to him. And it happens twice a month.
Our bodies are smart.
That is when you're ovulating. That is the time that you probably want to wear 6 layers of clothes and have on a massive ironclad bulletproof chastity belt and stay away from your husband if you're trying not to conceive, because that time when you're seeing him most attractive, when it's just out of the blue, is a good chance it's a time that you are actually ovulating.
Hormones.
Hormones
right?
change.
And then if you're thinking, well, gosh, I don't ever feel that, then we already know your stress levels are high. Then you probably aren't even ovulating, which then there's so much going on, which goes back to sleep and stress. And it's a big roller coaster.
It is a big roller coaster. And understanding this roller coaster and being able to navigate it as a couple in terms of 1, sexual health, but 2, overall body health. And this is a thing for women out there, your sex drive actually really does show how healthy your body is in terms of stress, in terms of coping with stress, managing stress, dealing with pain, dealing with hormones. It's a really good sign, because if you come home, this is a question I love to ask my moms or the women that come in and they have a partner and they're married, or I assume that they're sexually active, is when you see your partner and let's say you come home from a long day and you see your partner, are you sexually attracted to them and want to actually pursue intercourse with them, or would you rather just shut the door, go to bed, and leave everybody alone? If it's shut the door, go to bed, leave everybody alone, you're in adrenal fatigue. Your body's exhausted.
What's shutting down?
It's shutting down. You're past stress. You're on the other side of stress, where stress is so overwhelming, it's basically exhausted your body out.
You're
and
just
it's
trying to
shot.
stay alive.
You're just trying to stay alive, and that is no place to live. So that's a really strong sign of you need more care, you need better personal care, and actually amazing chiropractic care.
Absolutely. Like that's the environment, and that is, and if you see that from either one, of the spouse, significant other, like those are the red flags. And some people are gonna, again, their guard is gonna be up of like, no, I'm fine. But that is the like, call in the herd, right? Get the community together. Like you need to get out. You need to become more social because it ends up in a downward spiral. And that is the difficult aspect of once that cycle is started, it's really hard to pull out of that. So that's of, if there can be that awareness around it. Again, the communication of like, I don't know what's happening. I just feel a certain way. Okay, then this is when like all hands on deck of let's figure this out.
That
because
is the 5 alarm.
Right. This like we're at the precipice of, okay, are we gonna go downhill or can we maintain and get through this?
And I think with the proper care, proper team in place, we can always get it better. The body can always heal.
Absolutely.
We can always better manage this stress. And when you feel like you need to self-isolate, that's the time when you actually need more community. Now, another question we get very commonly is, what foods can I eat to increase my sex drive as a female? And I would say off the bat, you probably just need a bunch of chocolate.
I was gonna say, I hope it's the chocolate.
Chocolate and peanut butter cups for Dr. Julie. But there's a lot of different foods that can suppress libido and increase libido in women. Actually, there's more foods that suppress it.
I was gonna say, I can think of like all of the different triggers, and let's face it, like if we want to feel sexy, we want to feel good. If we have stress, that stress is adding inflammation, which then is adding excess weight and fatigue and just bloat.
Foods that bloat sink the boat.
Oh gosh.
Bottom line, like bottom line.
That's the title.
Well, but it's the truth. And when we think about that, even from a men's perspective too, I remember watching that one movie. I can't remember what it was, but they're like, "Hey, you want to have sex tonight?" And the guy looks over at his wife. He's like, "I just ate a bunch of pork," and she's like, "I did too. We probably shouldn't do this. I'm tired." And so these foods that create tiredness, create exhaustion, make you tired, make you bloated. A lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugars do the exact same thing. I think this is something to really keep in mind on date night. Probably should save dessert till after intercourse and not before, because dessert actually makes you tired, makes you lethargic, makes you want to go to sleep, can bloat you, can give you a stomach ache. I hate that when that happens. Like I've got everything planned out. We have a great dinner and then you get a stomach ache, you don't feel good, or I don't feel good, and it sends the whole night into a spiral, probably because of something that we ate. So if we're planning on
plan ahead.
Plan ahead. That's exactly it. Planning on having a romantic evening with your spouse, think about the meal you're going to eat. Think about things you're going to put into play. You probably don't want to eat a lot of foods that cause inflammation. So we want to keep carbohydrates and sugars down.
Nice and clean.
Yep, until after. Yep. Dessert's always better after, okay? Like that's key. Yep. The other thing is too is understanding foods as you're farther up in life, things that create phytoestrogens, things that actually can help you estrogen-wise, help with those hormones and not work against it. There are supplements that you can actually take as well as women get further along in life and actually start dealing with menopause, because that is a massive hormonal change.
Absolutely.
And you can dive into that. Hit us up with a message. Dr. Julie or I can always jump on that. I don't really want to get into that cascade of different vitamins moms can take, but there are stuff available to help later on in life. Now, here's one that I find really interesting. This question is, why does alcohol increase sex drive in women?
Because it lowers inhibitions. Right?
You nailed it. That's it. I actually have that wrote down. Did you get ahead and read this?
I can't read your scribbles.
Well, it's good penmanship.
But I think that is right, like the prom this year, right? It's a masquerade. They're going to put their masks on. And I think when there's something else that we can do that can inhibit our, our
internal judgment,
our judgments, and like be able to like lower the gates that we have up, we can always go back and blame it on something.
Right.
So it's always easier to have an outward like you can blame it
Mm-hmm.
on that afterwards. You can act a certain way
Mm-hmm.
versus being able to proudly or being able to show up as your authentic self.
Exactly, and that takes a lot of self-work.
Mhm.
And when you need alcohol to lower inhibitions, there's more of an internal self-work thing. Alcohol does not increase sex drive. It decreases inhibition. It decreases that internal judgment that goes on. It lightens you up. It changes the mood. And that then leads to you increasing in how you feel towards your partner. Number one, because your inhibitions are lowered. But number two, you're not thinking about the stress that was there.
But I think
So that
it's
surface
different
stress is
from men to
different.
women,
Oh yeah,
right?
with
So if a
men
guy
it's
goes
worse.
and does that, then it's the opposite.
Yeah, it can, yeah, there's a lot of different mottos and sayings you can say about consuming alcohol as a male, but bottom line is it will change your inhibition. It causes impotence. It can cause flaccidity. It can do a lot of things that are very detrimental to sexual health for men, and it actually is detrimental for sexual health for women as well. So again, alcohol doesn't exactly help you increase your drive. It decreases your inhibitions temporarily, will
For
decrease the
you to
stress that's
step
on your
out of
mind.
yourself to get away
Hmm.
from that stress versus if we could just pinpoint of what's causing that stress, it's just going to be a much better relationship to begin with.
That increased self-worth. And the other side of it is do you look good naked? From your own perspective, not from your spouse's perspective. And are you comfortable with yourself? Do you have that internal love of loving who you are as a person? And I find that the more self work that you do, the more work that you do on yourself always increases your self worth, always increases your confidence, and changes the way you are around me. And that's the same thing for myself with you. So I think that is something that, from a women and men's perspective, is sometimes we just need to do self work to increase our self worth. Yeah. You can deposit that one, write that down, put it on the mirror, put it on some lipstick on your mirror, whatever you want to do there. But ultimately, this comes back to this whole conversation. There is no pill, there is no potion, there is nothing that you can do to actually try to increase your sex drive as a female long term besides decreasing your stress and increasing your internal self worth. Because if you walk around with confidence, if you feel good in your skin, if you know that you are the best person on this earth for who you are, that will always increase that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it comes from a male's perspective too, of as you as men out there, as we listen to this and try to understand the Pandora's box that is understanding women's emotions and how it all works. We're just as complicated to them as they are to us. But as a guy out there, if you're listening to this and you're trying to dig into what's going on with your spouse, what's going on with your significant other, your sexual partner, bottom line is that one of it shows you care if it's not superficial. And then two, don't be afraid to try to open up that area of communication. Some of you guys out there, you may feel that trying to get into communication with your significant other or your spouse, your wife, is a rocky subject. It makes you nervous. It might make you pucker up a little bit. It might make you sweat a little bit. But understand that the more you talk as a couple, the more you talk in your marriage, the better and stronger your marriage is.
And I think start with baby steps,
Baby
right? If
steps.
you're not having those conversations, don't just be like, sit down, we have to talk.
Babe, we gotta talk. That's always
Instead,
bad.
let's start with it of like tell her like really nice compliments,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then that's going to lower her guard. If you come in and say like, why are you saying that or why are you doing that way to begin the conversation, that guard is just going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can lower that guard, have some chocolate, right? The flowers, go back to the Dating Your Spouse podcast, but start being more complimentary to your partner and give the nice comments or like what led you two together and have some of those behaviors, which then will lower the guard, which then will make it a lot easier to begin that conversation.
It decreases inhibitions, which increases attractiveness, right?
No alcohol needed.
No alcohol needed. And to come back to one more thing on that, I think what you just hit on is absolutely pivotal. Is I would never really try to hesitate or consider starting a conversation off with, honey, we need to talk. Because usually, if you think back to how you were raised, if you think back to how your parents communicated with you and everything subconsciously, saying that to somebody that, hey, we need to have a conversation, usually that's not a good conversation. So there's already stress. They're already guarded. They will already put the wall up versus, hey, how are you feeling today? Babe, you look really pretty. I really like your outfit. I really like how your makeup looks today. What are some things, what is the thing that I tell you almost every morning when I wake you up?
Good morning, I love you.
Good morning, I love you. I'm thankful for you. I am so happy you're in my life and I love you. And that is to me important for you to hear, but also it's an important affirmation to myself to keep reminding myself of how blessed and how lucky I am to have you and have our children. And that's a really, really important lesson for all men out there that listen to this. Because surprisingly, here's the funny thing, over 65% of our listeners and viewers are men, which tells me we were doing something right here.
We gotta talk more.
Yep.
And I would say, instead of it, like, it has to be repetition, right? And so, like, we have date night, but make it of a conversation. So maybe it's if weekly is not enough, maybe it's the 7th of every month. That is like relationship check-in. So, but I mean, you could be talking like the good things, you could be talking the negative things, or the things that need to have room for improvement, right? Because it doesn't have to be negative. There could just be room for improvement.
Yep.
And so if that just kind of shows up, you both can be prepped to be able to come with, your positives and the things for improvement. And if there's nothing negative going on, right, then nothing for improvement, then it's just a really great day to do that check-in.
And that's what you need. And I would say the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th, those would be a weekly check-in for you, or split them up. Once a month is okay if that's just
baby steps.
Well, right. If we got to just scratch the surface, having that monthly check-in, seeing how your relationship is going, and honestly, just having a very, very open mind and understanding where people are at. Because when the physical attraction seems to fade, you have to understand that the foundation that your love was built on in the beginning is what gets you through everything.
Well, I look at it as like, how many people as they age and then they retire, and then they become more busy in the retirement years because they can't stand being around their spouse.
Yeah, and I can't wait to be around you more, which is probably opposite of you.
So, I mean, taking that into consideration of, yes, starting and building on those things now already at, in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. So then when you get to your 50s and 60s, you're not like ready to get away from each other. Like, you want to spend more time together and just grow and blossom stronger in your relationship.
I agree 100%. So anything else you want to contribute today, Dr. Julie? Yeah, here's to female sexual health. I hope that this conversation fully helped you. And if you need to decrease your stress, we've got a number of guides and things that we can send you. So just click those links below, leave us a message in the comments, and always hit that like button. Share this to as many people as you can, because that really helps Julie and I get our message out to more and more people from here at Prime Podcasts, and of course in Legacy Life Studios and our network. So take care, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day, and just here's to you having a better and healthier life with your spouse. Bye, everyone.